Hello there. Is there anybody?
Okay,
Hi.
I'm here.
I'm
Oh,
here.
hello.
Hi.
So, okay, I think we can start.
Yeah, I'm ready. How many people do we have here today? I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that right?
I think yes, I guess so.
All right. So, how should we start? We're talking about what these autumn blues, about seasonal depression. Is it real? How do we get out of it? I don't know. Has anyone read any of the material, or how's that?
As for me, I've read some material and I just can answer some questions.
Okay. Who else do we have? Is Denise with us, or is he just here in virtual world?
Yes, I'm on air. Hello.
Hi. Okay, so should we maybe start by introducing ourselves? Does that work? I can start. My name's Daniela. I'm from Los Angeles. I've been teaching English for, I don't know, maybe 15 years or so now, probably more than that. And I'm hosting this conversation club. It's great to have everyone here today. We're talking, as I said before, about these autumn blues, about seasonal depression. Is it real? How do we get out of it? And, well, just about, I guess, being in the middle of autumn. Winter is just around the corner. So let's maybe go down the line. Denise, if you want to introduce yourself now.
Um, yes, my name is Denis. I'm a programmer, and over 10 years I've worked on a project with American, United Kingdom customers. So every week and sometimes often I have a lesson in English, but it's very I can explain many things if it's about programming, about project, but I have some problems when I try to uh, take part in talking about some common things.
Okay, well, that's what Conversation Club is here for, so I hope we'll be able to help. Next, Lyoka, do you want to say some words about yourself?
Yeah, I can. Well, my name is Doka. I'm from Moscow. I'm I'm many person in one. Well, I am an online language school director, and I also work in an event agency, and I also teach Spanish. So that's my three more popular occupation.
Okay, 3 and 1. That's good. And our third participant or fourth participant in this conversation club, shko-la, Ru, who are you exactly? Because we just have an icon. We don't have a name.
Yes, my name is Elvira, and I administrate this conversational club. That's my first time. That's why I am a bit nervous. uh, as Actually, I'm teacher of English. I teach at school for children, and I would like to improve my level of English.
Okay, well, it's great to have you, and don't be nervous. I think that's basically the only real rule we have for Conversation Club, which is kind of hard to enforce, but just feel comfortable. Really, there are no mistakes here. We're just here to speak English, to communicate, to feel comfortable when using the English language, which we all can definitely do. And I hope this is going to be a great format for us to use the language. So maybe let's get started a bit about this topic, this autumn blues, seasonal affective disorder. I don't know. I mean, this whole seasonal affective disorder, what is it called? SAD, SAD. So you just kind of have the feeling of everything being kind of sad and depressing. And I don't know if I really agree with this or not, to tell you the truth, because I personally like cold weather, which I know is probably crazy for most people, but I do. And I understand that, there are certain changes that happen around this time of year when it comes to air pressure, when it comes to, the changing in temperatures and stuff like that. But I don't really see them so much as psychological problems. It's more, for me, it's just kind of like a physical thing. So I don't know if any of you really kind of experienced that or not, but maybe let's just discuss a little bit about this whole concept of seasonal affective disorder. I mean, is it really an emotional stress to go through the changes of the season through the year? So winter is upon us, winter is coming, that whole proverbial phrase. Is it something that really causes depression? What do you think? Yoka, what do you think?
Well, I haven't read the materials that you've prepared for us, but accidentally I read an article some days ago about this SAD phenomena, and it was told there that the level of serotonin, or I don't know how it is called in English.
Serotonin. In English, it's called serotonin.
Serotonin, depends directly on the sun, how much sun we get. So because we need some sun to provide that special vitamins to produce.
Of course. That's why they have those sunrooms, like in Murmansk in the north of in the north of Russia, where they don't have sun. So yes, we definitely need sun. I agree with that.
Yeah. So I think that sometimes this depression can be caused by physical reasons, such as like few sun or less sun that we get than we need. But at the same time, for example, as I'm living now in Moscow, I can say that autumn and winter here in Moscow are rather depressive times of the year because no sun at all, very dark, and everything is gray. So the surrounding is very sad, and that can also cause seasonal bad moods.
Okay, yeah, I can understand that. I agree with that. Denise, what do you think? What do you think about this autumn, winter is coming, depression? Do you think it's real? What do you think? Where are you living? Maybe that's a good point too, because maybe our location has a lot to do with how we feel about everything.
Forgot. Yes, I'm living in Moscow now, but I born on more southern city. It's Rostov-on-Don. This is 1,000 kilometers southern than Moscow. So where I live in Rostov, for me, was no big difference in my model, my fatigue, on other thing in summer or in winter. But I relocated to Moscow. It was December. So my first impression was I awake and I find that there are some kind of evening out of window. And after that was a night. So at first time I think there is no really daytime. But now I'm become well adapted. So yes, I think there are many effects exist about winter time, but in my mind, the most effect is long of the day and long of the night. Also, I know that scientists think that color of light and daytime is rather important for circadian rhythm and for human metabolism because the most part of human evolution was in Africa. And there are no big difference in day length and night length. And our circadian rhythm, our metabolism is well balanced for such length of day and night and for such quantity of sunlight. So yes, I think there are many effects, but I'm not sure that a good idea to think that it's some really one well localized illness or some kind of that. To my mind, it's different effects on human psychology, on metabolism, probably something else.
Okay, yeah, those are really good points to make. And again, I think we come up with this sort of lack of sunlight, like Ryoko was mentioning. I mean, that really is a big thing, especially the further north you get. I mean, that's something you can't ignore because it's just the way things are. What about you, Elmira? What do you think about this depression, seasonal depression, oncoming winter in the middle of autumn? What are your feelings on it?
As for me, I, in general, a bit depressive person, so it's difficult for me to decide or to divide is it seasonal or not seasonal. But of course, it is very unusual when the winter is so long and the summer is so short for me, because actually I was also born in more south part. I was born in Middle Asia, in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent, and it is much warmer there and the sun is much longer. So here in Samara, it is middle part of Russia, central part of Russia. The autumn and the winter very long, and for me it is of course depressive. But I think it depends on the person himself, herself, mostly. Not on the season, but on the person mostly, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely a very good point. So, Elmira, oh, I'm sorry, my goodness gracious. Elmira, you would say that you suffer from this depression in general. You have these sort of tendencies, so you can't really differentiate specifically if it's depression in general or the seasonal depression. What about you, Denise? I mean, do you think you suffer from this depression, seasonal or otherwise?
I think it's hard to call some kind of depression. At winter, usually we have some more nervous situation at work because financial year is started after New Year and ended before New Year. So at winter, we usually finish some projects or trying to find new projects or try to increase our budget or make some other rather hard and emotional hard and nervous thing. So for me, winter is it's more about work situations and work problems than about really seasonal depression.
Okay, so yeah,
probably part of my mode is about really seasonal. For me, it's hard to split one from another.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And like you say, work, busy, busy, busy. You don't really have so much time to even think about that sort of thing, maybe. Would you say?
Yeah, some kind of that.
Yeah, something like that. What about you, Lyoka? What do you think? Do you suffer from depression or seasonal depression? Or are you just overworked too, and that's the issue? What do you think?
Well, some time ago, I really suffered from a seasonal depression a lot. I hated winter in Moscow. It was very difficult and hard time for me, especially when my son was small, very small. And now he's got older, and it's much easier to get along with him in the street now, for example. And recently, my life has changed a lot, and maybe because of that, I turned into rather more happy than sad person, and it's my like some feelings that I feel as a background, and they are positive mostly, and I don't care about weather now, you know. So if my emotional background is positive, it doesn't matter what is outside. That's what is most important for me now. So right now I don't suffer from bad emotions. The weather doesn't um, mm, doesn't not hurt
Affect?
me, affect me. Yeah, that doesn't affect me.
Okay. Well, that's great. That's great. I mean, I think that there, well, for me personally, there may be physical aspects. Where I live, I'm living in Croatia, and on the coast, there's just terrible wind in the autumn, in the winter, and even into spring. And the wind, it doesn't, I wouldn't say it makes people depressed, but it certainly makes people very agitated and angry. And it's something that I've seen more in other people than in myself. But then maybe again, this is some sort of physical realization of these weather changes, and how natural is it to be blown by a wind that's faster than a car. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, I think that as long as you have that sort of balance, if you have your work or if you have your sort of positive emotions in life, I think you can overcome any of those weather related sort of obstacles that you might have. But what about this? I mean, what about when it comes to levels of energy? Because that's not so much just depression or emotional balance or keeping busy. It's like the actual level of physical energy you have. What would you say, Elmira? Do you have more energy, less energy come winter? What would you say?
Oh, in winter, of course, I have much less energy, because I think for me, it is very difficult to wake up when it is dark, and to be happy about that. I would like when the sun is shining, but I think that our homes, our offices can save us from that situation. Actually, that's because I don't know, we can get some light there, maybe not natural light, but some extra light, and even how is it called in English? Not sunbathing, but in that solar cabins,
Yeah,
taking
if you go to
some.
a tanning salon or tanning bed, right?
Yes, some tanning can also help, as it is for the girls. It is much more convenient just to go to that um, tan cabins. Yes, am I right?
Yeah,
How
I
is
mean,
it
I know
called
what you're
in?
talking about. I know what you're talking about, because in Russia they definitely have those cabins, those booths, like a tanning booth. I guess you would call it a booth. But usually in English, you've got, well, I don't know, at least in the States, they're usually beds, the ones you lie down on. So they're more popular, those ones where you lie down. The ones that are booths, like you find around Europe, aren't so popular. But yeah, you would say a tanning bed or a tanning booth.
Yes, and and you can drink some herbal teas, or I don't know, take some not medicines, but some vitamins. How is it called correctly in English?
Well, that's a good question because there are two pronunciations. In American English, you would say vitamins, and in British English, it's more like vitamins. But either way, yeah.
Some vitamins, and so there are some. I think, as for me, I need some things to help me. I know that I hope that physical exercises can also help much, but I don't like them, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, as long as you know, maybe one day there'll be some sort of motivation. But it sounds like you know what you're doing and you've got a good kind of handle on it. What about you, Denise? Do you find that you've got more energy or less energy in the winter? And what do you do?
Usually I feel less energy in winter because it's hard to spend more time outdoor because it's cold and usually dark. Also, in Moscow there are less colors. So in winter there are many things of gray color, some other similar colors, and for me it's I can't understand why in architecture we not use such a thing as in Norway or other north countries, which many different colors for houses and so on. It's a first thing. Also, it's not only about winter because I spent much time behind computer, and most monitor have blue light, and I find a few years ago that if I finish working too late, it's for me hard to fall asleep. And I find a simple solution. There are many different software programs or this possible to set up a telephone to make a color warmer at the evening and at night. So I solved my problem.
Okay, again,
Yes.
proactive approach.
Sorry?
A very proactive approach. So you see there's a problem and you find a solution. Very good.
Yes, usually it's some look like on my work. So I every time I have some problem or task and I should find a solution. So this situation was similar.
Yeah, sounds good. I think it's kind of a weird situation for me because in the winter I find that I'm able to sleep more, and being able to sleep more means that I have more energy. So I'm fine as long as I'm actually able to sleep. Of course, there are always going to be some other factors. You've got to be somewhere at a certain time, or I don't know, there was a car alarm going off in the middle of the night. There are all different kinds of crazy things that can happen. But I don't know, it's kind of a weird situation where I feel like I've got more energy in the winter because I'm able to sleep more. So that's kind of my situation. What about you, Lyoka? When do you think you thrive the best? Which season do you thrive the best?
Thrive, you mean, what does it mean?
Thrive means to do well, like to really be active and successful and happy, like thriving,
Okay, I got it. Well, I think that I do it best in summer or in late spring, if we talk about Moscow and Russia. And of course, because I'm a person who depends on sun. So I don't depend on degrees or on warm or cold, but I depend on sun. And so as much sun there is outside, the better I feel myself, the more positive my my emotions are, and I think more positive, and I need less sleep, of course. Yeah, so in winter I can sleep more, and if I don't sleep enough in winter, I feel it much faster that I need to sleep and stop working. But yeah, I found out that in winter, walkings outside help me. Just to spend half an hour outside, not running towards the underground or from it, or just spend half an hour or 40 minutes in park walking around. That helps me.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. What about you, Denise? What do you think? When is the season that you thrive the best?
In Moscow, yes, it is a summer, first part of autumn, and spring. But for me, it's important length of day. If day's length is more than 8 hours, and there are sunny day, I feel good usually. A year ago, I have a trip to Barcelona, about 1 week Spain, at the middle of winter, and there was formally winter, but it was rather hot, near 15 Celsius, and there was every day was sunny, so I feel me perfect. That was the best day of winter I have before.
Okay, well, very good to experience that in Spain. What about you, Elmira? When do you thrive the best? Which season?
It's difficult for me to answer because I don't like when it is very hot, and I don't like when it is very cold. I thought that for me, it's perfect season is spring, perhaps, but in spring, sometimes it is also rainy and cold, so I don't like that. I think not season. My best month of the year is September, when it is not very hot and it is not cold, and there are lots of fruits, vegetables, and tasty things to eat, and they are all cheap, and I don't know, just there are plenty of that, plenty of some tasty things to eat, and just and very beautiful. I like all that beginning autumn when the leaves become a bit different in their color and shape. They are very beautiful, yellow, red, and things like that. But deep autumn, when it becomes cloudy and the weather is also always almost always gray, it is horrible, I think. So the beginning of autumn, the September, is my favorite month.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. I think I like autumn the best too, although mid-autumn is honestly okay for me. And I remember, well, basically everywhere that I've lived, St. Petersburg, Moscow, Los Angeles, here in Croatia, I like that sort of coldness that's not too cold, if that makes any sense. So I know that, like you were mentioning, Amira, in the beginning of September, it's nice. Yes, it is. But I just feel like I'm fine throughout of autumn. So maybe, again, that's kind of a strange thing, especially since a lot of people get into this depression around this time of the year. But I guess I'm just an exception in that sense. But let's get back. I mean, you were mentioning, Denise, about going to Barcelona in the winter, and it was the best winter you had. Have you ever, was it a specific trip? I mean, for the purpose of going to a warm place? And have you ever done that? Have you ever gone on a trip specifically to get somewhere warm when it was cold where you were living?
For me not, but that was trip for my wife, sorry, because she is very sensitive to Moscow climate, to our hard winter, so we take a family tour, mostly for her. But for me, it was good too. It was not so critical, but I feel difference, great difference. Uh, except Barcelona, there was a similar trip to Cyprus. Uh, there was a similar weather.
Cyprus.
Most Cyprus, yes.
Cyprus, okay.
In Mediterranean Sea, yes.
Yes, Cyprus. Yes,
Cyprus. Oh, sorry, Cyprus. And there was more sunny days, and we spent much time walking over the hills, and there was a beautiful nature, and that was good. There's no feel that is winter. It's sometime like mid-seasonal. It's not winter, not summer. It's not hot, not cold, but around all green and very beautiful time.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good. That interseason sort of situation. What about you, Elmira? Have you ever traveled specifically for the sake of getting to a warm location when it was cold and you felt like you needed to get into some warm place? Have you ever done that?
Yes, once we traveled, but not specifically. Actually, we banded because of my husband's work. The chief officer, tanker, and travels a lot, so he is 4 months at home and for work. So our vacations depends on his schedule, work schedule. So once it was in late October, the beginning of November, the end of October, the beginning of November, with the whole family, with our elder daughter and the son. He was very young, just 11 months old. And we traveled to Egypt. Actually, we wanted to travel to Spain, but got some good tour to Egypt, and it was really nice. Yes. Now I understood that it was really nice, but at that time I thought that Egypt is not very good. I wanted to go to Spain, but we went to Egypt.
Okay, that works. What about you, Nyoka? Have you ever gone away during the winter to some place where it was warmer?
Yeah, you knew what to ask me. Yeah, I've got this experience. But my first trips to warm places during the winter, they were not especially for that purpose. It happened so, but after them, I understood that there is no problem in getting out of cold into the warm weather, but it's a problem to get back for me, because 2 times I left Moscow in January or February for 2 or 3 weeks, and when I came back, I was in a very deep depression till spring. So I decided that is not my type of winter vacations. But when my son was about one year old, it was so terrible for me to stay in Moscow that in December I decided to go to Asia, but in the format that we will come back in spring. So we went in January and we came back in May, and that was nice. That was okay for me. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's a strategy, definitely a strategy. I'm trying to think, I never maybe left specifically for the purpose of getting to better weather, but I remember one time I went with my friend in January from Moscow to Portugal, to Lisbon. And it was such a shock because in Moscow it was quite, well, it wasn't that cold, but I think it might have been maybe minus 20 at that time. So definitely, you know, not so 15. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It was Moscow winter, not too warm, not too cold. Let's leave it at that. And you get off the plane in Portugal and it's, you know, it's so warm. And so my friend and I, we were wearing just, you know, like ballerina shoes and just jeans and maybe light jackets and everything is fine. But we look around at the people around us. And in Portugal at this time, it was maybe 10, maybe 10, plus 10, plus 15. And people are all wearing these heavy coats and jackets. And they're looking at us like we're crazy because we're practically naked in comparison to them because they're dressed like maybe almost like we would be dressed in Moscow, and the temperature was so different. So that was quite a shock. And then getting back, as you mentioned, Lyoka, getting back to Moscow after being in a warmer climate, you just don't expect that. You don't expect that at all, but yeah, you have to maybe plan longer trips so that there's not going to be such a shock, a change in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Idea.
Yeah.
What about tips when it comes to surviving autumn and winter and this cold weather and the lack of sunshine? We already talked about that with the tanning beds and everything else, but what else can you think of? Elmira, do you have any other ideas when it comes to surviving all of this seasonal depression? What do you think?
I think just maybe to be together with the family, to make some warm family evenings in some, I don't know, in some warm surroundings when everything is so, I don't know, very there's something connected with something warm and a lot of cushions.
Something cute and cozy, right?
Yes, something cozy, yes.
Yes. What about you, Denise? What do you think? What are your tips? I mean, you already said you were very practical when it came to everything else. What other kind of suggestions do you have to keep well during the season?
At winter and autumn, I try to spend much time outdoor, if it's possible. Go throughout, taking a more long way to walk or go to park. And also, if I feel really less energy, sometimes I use 5-HTP. It's a kind of drug which increase producing of serotonin, and this helps feel better and get more energy to do work.
Okay.
And yes.
Yeah, that works. Lyoka, what do you think?
About tips to survive? Well, as I said, I try to walk outside and to spend some time outside of my house, not just going to the shops or going to some other point, just walking in the park. And I try to spend time with my friends because my friends give me a lot of positive energy every time I meet them. And what else? I try to do what I want to do more than what I need to do or I have to do. And sometimes I permit myself to make some lazy Sundays when I don't do anything. I just spending on the sofa watching some serials and eating something nice, tasty, and sweet. So that's my way to fight this seasonal depression. But Danielle, I have to go now.
Okay.
Thank you for your company, and guys, thank you for coming, and I will see you next time.
Okay, thanks for being with us. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, so when it comes again to this surviving these seasonal changes, I mean, for me, I think one of the biggest things is to take advantage of the things that you can't do during the other months. So, for example, being able to go and ski or snowboard and that sort of winter sport, ice skate if you can. I mean, that to me is a kind of positive thing. Of course, that's in the winter, that's not so much in the autumn, but also in the autumn, for me, I like to be able to go ahead and have a walk through the park, you know, as you've mentioned, because where I live, that's not something you can really do, say in the summer. It's impossible because it's just far too hot. You know, if it's 35, maybe even 40 degrees, you can't go for a walk to the park. But in the autumn, you can. So that's something that I like to take advantage of, just that sort of thing. I don't know. So we have another 15 minutes. We've gone through all of our questions. Maybe, does anyone have any questions that they might want to add? Elmira, any questions, any comments, any ideas you might have?
I just don't know. Maybe we should think a bit about the next theme for the next meeting.
That's a good idea. That's a good. Any ideas? Any input? Maybe. Denise? Elmira? Any ideas?
No, it's hard to me to choose any topic which would be interesting thing for others. I only want to ask if it's possible to send materials to next discussions a day before, because it was hard to read much part of this materials at work.
Yeah,
Between
definitely.
meetings, calls, work task, and it was
Definitely.
really kind of rush for me.
Sorry about that. No problem. Definitely next time there'll be at least a day before. At least a day before.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's think about topics. Anything that you might want to discuss? I mean, you say that you can talk about your expertise, your programming, but on other topics not so much. So what do you think might be able to help you? I mean, any topics that you think might be interesting in general?
As for me, any topic is interesting, so I would like to listen to Denise.
Now I have only one idea. It's rather important for me. Actually, for me now, it's about preparing to interview and taking part in interview on English, because now also monitoring other job opportunities and try to find some remote job for, of course, the same customers from UK, US, or probably other countries. And for me, it would be a good thing to have some training about such kind of speak questions and so on. But I'm not sure that it will be really a universal topic and it will be really interesting for others. Also, we don't know who will join us on next meeting.
I think that's a good idea. Just interviews in general, interview preparation, that sort of confidence, what kind of questions to ask. Maybe we can think about that. I mean, I think that would be an interesting topic. What do you think, Elmira?
I think it's wonderful topic, not only in from the point of view or linguistic point of view, but in general in interview, not only in language, but in general interviews before getting some new job. It is very interesting because I know I have participated in 2 weeks ago in a game. It was very interesting, and I know that many persons who are getting to take some persons to work how are they called in English? I don't know just now.
People like recruiters.
Yes, recruiters or even owners of business, maybe some top managers,
Yeah, business.
very often trolling their candidates.
You mean like watching their social media and all this other stuff?
Yeah, social media, stress improvement, and things like that. And I think it's a very interesting topic, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are a lot of opportunities there, a lot of possibilities. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting reading material on that too. So great idea, Denise. Great. Definitely great. Yeah, I think that's okay. So now we're at what? How many more minutes? 9. I don't know. Should we call it a wrap for today since we only had what? Well, now we only have 3 people, or what do you think? Any other things you might want to talk about? Any other questions? Anything? Elmira? Denise, anything?
I can prolong our topic a little bit more. What weather was today at you're in San Francisco, yes, Daniela?
No. I'm in Croatia, so we've got wind. We've got lots and lots and lots of wind and rain and earthquakes, which isn't really weather, but it's still not exactly the most pleasant thing. So no, I'm not in San Francisco, but you're in Moscow, and Elmira, you're in Samara. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm in Samara, and in Samara it is rainy, cold. Yes, it's very rainy today, unusually rainy, and not very pleasant. What about Moscow? What's the weather like there today?
Today is a few days before that lead clouds, and I watched sun last time few minutes 2 days before, and a little bit rainy, a little bit snowy, and temperature is 1 or 2 about degree. So it was a gray sky, and yes.
It's that hard period, isn't it? It's just when it's not snow, but it's still really cold and wet and it's not really pleasant. Yeah.
Yes. White snow and sun is a perfect weather. It's a time where I can go walk to a park and spend more time outdoor. But in such kind of weather, it's hard to even go to walk.
This is true. It is true. Are you on public public transportation, or do you walk, or do you have a car? I think that makes a big difference too. Your form of transportation when it comes to this sort of weather.
Only one kind of transport really actually in Moscow is a subway, because there are many traffic jams all first part of the day because all try to go in the city, and all second part of the day because all try to run out of central city. So I usually use a subway, but underground it's electric light too, and sometimes I try to walk a few or 3 stations on the way to my work.
Yeah, I know. I understand completely about that sort of thing. What about you, Elmira? I mean, how do you get around Samara? Are you driving? Are you using public transportation, walking?
Yes, mostly I'm driving because I've got 3 kids and it's very difficult with them to use public transport. And the subway is not developed in Samara at all. But we also got lots of traffic jams, and especially before that World something connected with football.
Oh, you mean the World Cup? Oh my goodness, the World Cup. It's great. Something connected with football. I love it. Yes, yes.
Yes, and we have got everywhere some building projects, and not an endless. So it's very difficult here to move around comparatively small city, Samara. So I use my car, and actually I think that Denise is something like a hero for me, because I think that working is really very good, but I can't find some strength inside of me just to work, because I know it is very useful and very nice, but just now I'm not ready for that.
Okay, well, you're working with children, so that kind of makes a difference too, because you've got, you know, I think that maybe a lot of times children have a hard time when it comes to coping with these seasonal changes too, because, you know, they've got all these other clothes to wear, and maybe they're tired, but they still have to go to school. Maybe that's kind of something. Have you noticed that? I mean, would you say that children have a hard time dealing with all of these seasonal changes?
I don't know. Children, I think they get used to all situations more quickly, I think, and it is not important for them whether it is winter or summer. But of course, they like summer more because there are vacations in summer, and you don't need to get up early morning and go to school. Yes, they are stressed because of school mostly, not because of the season, but because of school and some additional courses, something, everything is in a rush. So that is very stressful for children, I think.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. I'm thinking with younger children though, just from what I've seen, is that, you know, a lot of mothers are saying, "Oh no, you know, my child is just being so crazy because of this weather. It's the cold, it's the change, it's the pressure." So I don't know. Of course, everyone is different and what have you, but yeah, it's definitely something that affects us all in one way or another, whether it's getting to work or staying awake at work or getting children to school or what have you. But hopefully we'll all get nicer winter weather, proper winter weather with nice snow and sunshine, you know, for you guys there. That'll maybe make things a little bit better. But it was definitely great to talk to you today about this whole autumn blues and depression and getting out of depression and just being really positive. I think that's the point that was really made. When you have a focus, when you're focusing on your work or maybe your exercise or just getting to a tanning salon or going for a work and having, or going for a walk through a park, for example, or just having that sort of emotional balance, that's really going to help us all get through anything, whether it be seasonal or environmental or anything. You know, if you have this sort of positive attitude and focus, we should all be okay. Any closing words you might have, Denise?
Only one thing. When you talk about children, I remember another option is having a dog. When we live in Rostov, we have a dog. Previously, it was my wife's dog, but at rainy weather or in winter, usually I work with dogs, so it may be a awful wind and awful rain, but there are no other options. You should go out of home with dog, and it was another way
Yeah, that's
to
definitely
spend
a point.
more time. Yes.
Yes. Does your dog have to be with clothes or no clothes?
I can't understand your answer.
When it's really cold, does the dog have to wear clothes or no clothes, or is the dog okay with just being a dog?
At first part of work, he try run away as much fast as he can. But if weather was really awful, next he tried to be much closer and hidden out of rain between my feet.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Elmira? What do you think? Closing statements, closing ideas?
Okay, I would like to thank you, Daniela, much, and just I'm waiting for the next meeting.
Okay, well, I'm waiting too, and we'll definitely, this is a very interesting topic we have coming up, this interview and preparedness for interview, and definitely, I think it's going to be a great one. So I will get material to you as soon as possible and hope to see everyone in a week's time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you,
Thank
Denise.
you.
Thank you, Elmira. And thank you, Lyoka, who's already gone.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.